9 o'clock, we'll call the UW extension meeting to order with the first order of business being public related comments to the agenda items. Anybody on Zoom?
Nope.
No. Hearing none, we'll move on to approving the minutes.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
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 Amy, thank you so much. Your minutes are always. Hello.
Next,
Hey,
we
don't
go on to
forget-
the safety sharing with Tom Butcher.
I'm really good at what? Oh, first one, that is the minutes.
Karen's making her.
Hello.
Well, it's that time of year. And my homily for the day will be about slips and falls because of ice. You know, we're running that time of year where it's 32 degrees, it seems like, it's a little bit colder, a little bit warmer, and you always can see the black ice in the lake. So keep in mind, and if you do see that, what we do, we walk like a penguin. Did you wanna give us an example of walking like a penguin? No, that's all right.
We don't want to hear what our family calls that walk.
What do you call it?
The Wisconsin type walk.
Yeah. And again, it comes back and there's a ongoing theme that comes is we all know that when we're in a hurry, that's when things happen. You're late leaving the house, you walk out, and my house, and the 2 steps in the back is right into ice skating rink sometimes. And with the frost, heavy frost and dew you're having, you can walk right into that. So keep that in mind. And do we all have our little gripper rubbers that we use? And do we know where to find them? That's the other thing. I always lose mine until I need them and then I can't find them. So that's really all I have. Just be careful on the ice.
Next, we got the committee chairs report, and I'd just like to thank the fair board for all that they do. I mean, when we did PGI, I seen Mike hauling that soda from that Pepsi truck, and I just actually felt sorry for you. I mean, you got a can cart with about 8 cases of soda on, and you're going back and forth and back and forth. And mind you, these are volunteers. So, you know, it's like, not only did they put hundreds of hours into organizing the fair, then they do like PGI and other events at the expo to raise money for the fair. So these people put in a ton of hours and get nothing for it, and a little bit of recognition, but you get a lot of people that want more from the fair, bigger music, and you know, you're already doing all you can. You can only raise so much money, and you're a volunteer position. I just can't believe that you can find such good people that would be willing to do that. And I'd like to wish everybody a Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year, and be safe. And then we go on to the Winnebago County Fair Association report with Mike Dumpy.
Okay, Mike Donkey, I'm the president. Matt, you really nice today. You got vice president, Matt Newman. I gave you guys a little bit of stuff that I'll go over with you quick. I'll try to make it quick. Financial report I gave you, so it's getting pretty good compared to what we were in 2018. We're actually able to put a little bit more money away this year. I don't want to comment too much on it because I just picked them up from the accountant about an hour ago. So, if anybody has any questions, I'll be more than willing to answer them. We found some other ways of making money. We bought a kitty tractor pull set. And we use it at our fair, and then we've been renting it out to other fairs and events. So making a little bit more money that way. Just tried some new cornhole tournament this year. Wasn't very well advertised. We can do better on that. Still trying to put a lot of different types of trying to find what people like. Surface was a real hit like 2 years ago, and so we're hoping to find some more of that stuff. But I can tell you our attendance since 2019 has grown by about 4,600, 4,700 people. This year alone, it went up was it was right around 2,000, I think, or yeah, 1,800 roughly from last year as far as when it's went up. We had 771 memberships bought, and there was 568 youth bands that were bought, which were today's other bands. Example of where some of the money we get the county aid every year, some of that going back to the county is listed on this highlight sheet here. You know, cleaning supplies that we paid upon back for gas, electric, water, sewer. This year we received the tract of grass, after the event was over. So I guess it's more usable for the other events that come in prior to ours next year. Sheriff's Department, we paid them just about $4,000 for security this year. So I think the other things we did for, we got a $4,000 grant from Computer that we used to, we bought supplies for the county to upgrade the water lines in the barns. Marketing for a boost for the veterans had one, the health department, child care referral service, land and water extension. I don't think the county exactly, I'm not sure. But for example, some of the booths that were set up from the county departments. Parkview Health Center did a little county fair week promotion where they promoted to their staff and the residents that would give away some tickets. In the parish fair did some appearances over there. We had the parades that we participated in. Eureka had one, Waca had one, El Dorado, Nina, Oshkosh, Amro, missed some Winnebago. We were in up for the Christmas parade this last couple of weeks too. Trying to promote the fair a little bit and get out into the community. Junior fair, cost us about $38,000 roughly. To run the junior fair, and the breakdown is there. We have about $21,000 in income to support that, to reimbursement from the state and some volunteers, or trophy sponsors and stuff like that, and entry fees. We kept the entry fees at 25 cents for the youth, so it's 25 cents a project. We're getting up in the we're spending more for the family entertainment. This last year we spent just short of $53,000. 2021, for example, we spent like $19,000. Bartending groups and parking groups, we had those up there. And we gave back just over $10,000 to those groups. And the meat animal sale, I don't know the exact number for it. Do you know what it was? I know it was up, the amount of income from the sale was up for the kids, but I can't recall what the number was. I don't know how this sort of. We did the senior day and the Veterans Day again this year on Friday. The veterans can come in and get free wristband on rides and stuff like that. They got in free, and then they could get everything for all the rides too. And the seniors, it was $5 for them to get in. At Steve's request, we worked on the parking a little bit. We got senior and handicap more up on the gravel area, closer to the gates.
I got a lot of positive feedback on that.
Yeah. So we're hoping we can find somebody we can always look at. Yeah, it's more people call them people movers, and they wagons from tickets. So we just gotta find people willing to pull them around or something. So it might help a little bit around the grounds too. So work in progress on that. We'll keep trying on that. The amount of exhibits this year was 422 youth show exhibits and 4,882 actual exhibits. So that was about 60 from 2022. So prior to COVID, 2019 is 452, so we're a little bit down from that. But seems like we're climbing back up each year. So 2022 is 362. So coming around on that kind of stuff. We already have our theme for next year. It's we put it on strolling through the fair without a care, the theme for next year. Want to thank the county again for putting us back in the budget for aid again this year for the fair. And
We
we're
need to actually have the full support of the board. We added that extra money back in there for you, and that passed unanimously.
Yeah.
So the fair is basically supported by the entire county board.
And we appreciate that because it's just, you know, it's for everybody in the community. It brings people here and shows off the parks and everything else too, so. And we're keeping the admission when we had it at last year for, $12 in advance, 15 at the gate. And the memberships are $30. So, yeah, I don't know if anybody got any specific, I have a question, sure.
The 11,007 for the sheriff's security, is that for overtime for the sheriff's department? Are we paying their daily salary, or it seems like they probably would be getting a salary anyway, and that anything extra we pay, are we covering their entire salary?
I believe we are, because I can't answer that for sure for the sheriff's department, but we get a breakdown of each person's wage
Yeah,
that they're paid, and that's what we. So this year our number is up quite a bit. It's usually around 8, 7 or 8, but they required us to have 6 extra officers on
okay,
Friday and Saturday night. So, yeah, so usually we get to reserves, but those extra 6 patrol officers, so their wage is also higher, so.
okay. And I'm just gonna say, I don't know, with $12 to $15 admission fee, I don't know why we can't get Swift.
Oh, yeah.
What's her name? Taylor Swift, yeah. Why can't we get her?
When is her boyfriend gonna get on the Packers?
I don't know. He's
He was
happy,
up there for that.
he's happy in Kansas City.
Yeah, he is.
Yeah,
We've already got the gymnast in the Packers.
and one of the things too with the fair, one of the goals we had in mind was to take the cost of the fair one year, because 2018 was a good example. The fair lost about almost $200,000. So 2019 is when I took over on the fair board, and we couldn't get a loan run the fair or anything like that. The banks wouldn't even do that. So we struggled through and we kind of like scraped and to get through, and you know, it's just one bad year, you lose a lot of money. So our goal was to save $300,000. I mean, I forget what it is this year we spent on it. I think it was around 350,000 with fair costs around this year. Let's see, it's not really good at reading this thing, I just picked it up. Our expenses were $371,000, which was up about 36,000 from the year before. So, our goal was to have $300,000 put away and possibly invested and get some interest out there or something, and then have the other money to run the fair. So that if we have a bad year, we're not predicting when we can.
And if I remember correctly, the year that you couldn't get a loan, it meant members of the board of the parks, I mean, the fair board, put up money personally. That's what I thought.
Yeah, there was about, I think it was about $70,000 for the.
I'll make it sign the loan one time for the fair.
Who did that?
Tommy, Egan.
Yeah,
He said, Fair wouldn't have made any money to pay it back, he would have basically been out that money.
Yeah,
And that was his last year, the year he had
Yeah.
Lone Star there, I think that was like a $50,000 band, and you had like 800 people. The PAC had them charge basically $50 to $100 a ticket, and they sold out, you know, so they got 3,000 people. And then you get the people saying they like better bands, but yet when you get a good band, they don't show up. So it's like, that was just a big loss of, you know, the bands you get for, you know, $10,000, bringing about the same amount of people. And you would have thought that that place would have been packed and people
Yeah.
would have been happy, but you know, that was Tom's last year, and after you got on, you reevaluated it, and it's like, you can't put $50,000 bands out there and basically let somebody in for $12. I mean, all the grandstands are free. If you go to out of Gaming County, you'll pay for everything in the grandstand, the Wisconsin tractor pull, the county tractor pull, everything's extra. You'll get in cheap, but you'll pay for every ride, you'll pay for all the entertainment. Everything at that fair is $12 if you buy your ticket in advance. You know, and that's what you want. You want something that is basically reasonable for the average family of four. You can go to our fair for $48. I mean, mind you, you stay away from the games. My sister spent about $500 on them games. And I had to get paid from Jody to carry all their stuffed animals.
now you keep saying Tom Egan's last year, but he's still on the board.
yeah, airborne.
Oh, okay, I'm sorry.
Yeah, yeah, I mean, for example, you go to, you know, all our carnival that comes, Mr. Ed's back in communities. You go to most of the fairs, it's $30 to 35, 40, some of them, to ride for 4 hours. So they choose to ride rides, and then those fairs get a little bit of that money back, but, we're I think, we're pretty much the only fair in the state that does the all-inclusive, including the rides. So there's, Dodge County is pretty much the same price as us, but then you have to pay for your rides. And they either do the wristbands or, like the Air Max that comes here, I think it's, what do they charge, like, $8-9 to ride at one time.
Yeah.
So, and then, you know, and there might be some cheaper options for carnivals too, but sometimes you get, you know, kind of get what you pay for too. And most of them wouldn't do our all-inclusive thing, so. They have a good safety record, that's important to us, and, they're good people to work with and work with us.
And they got some nice rides. I mean, they had some newer rides this year that they didn't have in the past. So, you know, it's just a variety. I mean, their games are a little expensive. I mean, it's like $20 to throw a few darts.
Yeah,
But, you know, the people that want to spend that kind of money, it's great. My wife or my sister had her 3 grandkids from North Carolina. You could have cared less to spend $1,000 on them games. I mean, they were having fun, and, you know, so be it. It's only money.
Well, and locally, I hear that ours is the best county fair. This year, we had air conditioning in a building, and Allegheny County did not. And as I recall, we're talking about 95-degree days.
yeah, with warm.
And it was first time I've been, and I was able to go around to the 4-H kids and see all of the animals that they're caring for. It was phenomenal.
I know a lot of fairs actually had to let their animals go home early because of the heat, and then the heat broke right before our fair, so we were pretty lucky with that. So,
And you still didn't need the milking parlor if we don't keep the milk anyhow.
no, we can't sell the milk in the milk factories anyway, so, at this point, it's kind of not really worth it.
But did we relieve the cow anyway?
You still milk the cow, but we've been either giving it away to a farm that comes in and uses it to feed the cows, or it's actually been dumped, because the milk factory won't take it. There was a number of years ago when we stopped taking it from fairs because the farmers were having to dump their milk, and they were like, "Why are you taking from the fairs and not taking mine?"
Right.
So kind of went away. So I think there was some safety concerns too. So yeah, we're pretty good on that.
I had a thought that just pops into my head, you know, the Mile of Music in Appleton, that does not have, I don't believe, a lot of name brand bands.
No,
They're all the wannabes. And yet there's a following of those wannabes. If somehow you can get tied up with that kind of venue where you give them a place and they bring their own people, it might be a little bit different because you're right, these bands are getting more and more expensive all the time. And it'd be kind of nice if the people came and brought their own crowd with them. But just something to think about.
Yeah, and, this year we tried the group the Dweebs. And they, well, obviously, if you walked around the grounds, you saw some of their following was here, so their little skinny hats and funny clothes on, so. Yeah, the local bands, I mean, even those could be starting to get pricey, you know, I mean, we looked at like, Hairball and, gosh, what's that,
The glam band,
glam band.
which they won't even give you a price. You gotta book them 2 years out in advance and they won't even tell you what it's gonna cost.
Yeah,
Wow.
so they're, you know, I mean, they're getting a little bigger now too, I think they're originally from, I don't know, Minnesota, I think. But I just seen they're playing New Year's at the Metrodome, they're in the backyard of the Viking game at halftime, so, but. Yeah, it's hard, you know, but they're $20,000
You know,
and,
I think the way you've been doing it, just getting a lower, you know, you don't get the attendance and nothing changes in the price, so it just cuts into your profit, like on you only made $36,000 last year. So if you would have basically had two bigger bands there, you'd have lost money.
Yeah.
You know, and the crowds don't pick up. If you brought a bigger band in and you got 2,000 more people, well, that'd be great. But you're gonna get the same little group of people that you're gonna get with bands that you're putting in there, and this way you're more sustainable. And I'd rather see the low admission, so a family can get there and, you know, if you have $100, the family of four can have a little bit of food, they can have a little bit of entertainment, they can walk through the barns. Where if you start getting at $30, $40 for, you know, between the rides and the entrance, well, now you're up to $120 and you got nothing that you can basically, how do you go to fair and not eat? And nothing's cheap at the fair to eat either.
Yeah.
You know?
yeah, I think, you know, I think we got the message out there a little bit better. I think a lot of people think it's, you know, $12 again and I got paid for everything. So we keep trying to promote that with everything, that it's all inclusive. But I mean, I stood at the gate for a little while last year. Even we had Saturday was a huge day. I mean, I don't think we could have put any more people in the fairgrounds. We were all parking cars and helping collect money, you know. So, people were like $12, but what does it cost to get into the demo derby? I'm like, well, that's free. And you go on the ride soon. I'm like, yeah, so people are, you know, as people pick that up, it's just how do you get that message out to them?
Yeah.
And, you know, I think there's a distrust that sure you're letting me in for 12 and then you're telling me I can do everything for free, but I really can't. So.
Outside of food, is there outside of buying your food, is there anything else that they charge for?
The food and some of the games they charge for.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, but all the rides are free, all the grandstand. So I think that's our focus, is to keep the good attractions for the grandstand. And like I said, we really put a lot more money into the kids' entertainment. So whether it's the balloon twisting or the face painters or the carnival or circus or the pig and duck races, just kind of that kind of stuff, or little things we can do. We, you know, put up the corn sand boxes and kids are in there all day long. So,
Any other questions? Here, none, I just thank you again. I mean, you guys go above and beyond. I can't believe, like, when you basically do the bartending for the expo center and you were out there with PGI. I mean, and that's all to raise money to help support the fair. So besides supporting the fair, you're trying to raise money so that the fair basically turns for, you know, keeps the cost down for the families. And it takes a special kind of person to do that. Most people, you know, they don't want to give much of their time. They'll give a little, but they're not going to give a lot of time. So I appreciate everything you do for the fair, and
all right,
thank you.
Well, maybe we'll see you tonight at tonight's our annual meeting, 7 o'clock at Sunnyview. And next month, we'll see what we can find at the convention in Wisconsin Dells to bring to the fair. So hopefully we'll find something else.
Sounds good. Thanks.
Excellent report, by the way. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you, guys. Like I said, all the county boards support too. I mean, and I have to say, I appreciate you guys coming out. Quite a few of you came out and, I know Kay was there for sure. And I think I saw Karen.
Yeah.
Judging.
I was
Some
judging,
judging stuff and all that kind of stuff you guys did for. So we lured Steve and his wife into being a superintendent this year. So you guys better all watch out. We're after you.
Yeah, that was fun. I actually enjoyed it.
one more question. Besides the, things that actually cost you, do you ever do anything about in-kind donations? The hours that I spent judging should have been worth something that you can put in. And there's a lot of volunteer work. Is there any way of adding in-kind donations to show, people who are helping to support? It may even help your, getting loans and stuff.
Yeah, I mean,
Try and track this.
yeah.
Your hours on
we-
these
we
cards.
try to
Oh,
track
okay.
them, But
Too much.
sometimes people turn them in, sometimes they don't.
Okay.
We did have quite a few more volunteers show up, I think, this year, because people were really aware, because PGI was like setting up on Monday morning, and we were like, well, we aren't, no. And we had a lot of people show up and help, the board and stuff like that too from 4-H, so. Yeah, I sent some cards out to some people that I remembered were there, and, we try to do a little bit of a volunteer thing. We're trying to recruit too for like, gift cards or something, if somebody wanted to donate them, and then we're gonna give them all to the volunteers. We had a little success with it, but yeah, just mostly it's just a thank you, I think, right now, but, we're hoping, a lot of our more, like during our setup and our tear down, even during the fair week, this year we made sure we had, we spent a little bit more money on food and drink and stuff for people working on the grounds, so they could get some food and drink. And they'd have to pay for it, and it was, and some of that we donated to.
It's like being a superintendent when they brought the stuff in for judging, just seeing the kid's face, the smiles on their face when they get a blue ribbon. And this one kid, he was about 12 years old. He comes up to Marlene, he goes, boy, I'm really gonna have to step my game up next year. He goes, there's a lot of good projects here. He's 12 years old and he's thinking, how he's gonna compete next year, because these people are basically making, projects that are, a little bit better than maybe what his was, and that's what makes it worthwhile. We're retired, so it's like for us to go there, it's something to do, and you should give something back. And when we grew up, people basically did that for us, and it's a circle of life. I mean, you take when you're younger and you give back when you're older. That's the way it should be.
And part of the joy for me is to see you doing something in a really positive manner, because you hear so much that is what's happening these days. And so you see these kids and you see them not on their phones, they're playing games while they're having downtime, and their animals are there. It was just a joy.
We appreciate that.
Thank you.
We will, let you move on with your meeting.
Yep, you probably don't want to stay, so
No, I got
give me a second.
a puppy at home, I gotta go take care of.
Well, you got another meeting tonight.
Back to River Falls.
Oh,
Your day should be gone.
yeah. Thank you, guys.
Yeah,
Thank you very
For
much.
you,
Happy holidays.
Yeah,
Yes, you do.
yeah, Merry Christmas.
Chris, you got your raise.
Yeah. Well, it came at quite the cost, but
Yeah.
we can talk about
Yeah.
that when we get to my report.
Next we'll go to UW Division Extension Program and Educator Report and Update Health and Wellbeing with Katie Jakely.
You got it. Thank you for that. I know I passed out a couple of these, but then we had a couple more people come in, but I want to make sure everybody gets a copy, so I'll just pass these around. If you wouldn't mind, anybody who doesn't have one, we have just some programs that are upcoming to highlight, so I wanted just to give you something to take home and look at and kind of see what's coming. But it's been about 6 months since I've been in my position, and every day has been such a learning experience. And I am so, so grateful for all of the opportunities that I've had so far. I think, being in this position and being so new to the area and to extension, I've spent a lot of the last 6 months really being in more of that learner seat instead of that educator seat. So I'm really excited to say that in December, that's kind of started to switch around. And we've started off with some health and wellbeing programming. I had 2 programs, I think they were last week at the Boys and Girls Club of Oshkosh. So getting started there with some of their parent groups. One of them was a mindful eating for families class. So we had families come together and really focus on how do we, what strategies do we have to promote family mealtime and healthy eating within the family group. Then we also had an 8 ways to wellness presentation. So that's on the 8 dimensions of wellness, the physical or health, your mental health, your spiritual health, your environmental health, everything that comes into your wellness. And so we had about, I would say, 9 different families at that event, which was actually really exciting to see as well, because they're really into it, really engaged, and just so excited to see everybody really happy to be there and be with each other. That being said, moving into January, we have some really exciting programs coming up. The biggest one is We Cope. So that's why I wanted to give you this little booklet. This is what all of our participants will get and kind of practice as we go through. But We Cope is an evidence-based program. It's 6 weeks long, and we learn about 11 different skills to promote just coping and with stress, daily stressors. So it's for adults, coping with stress, giving you tips and tricks to build your toolbox so that when you're faced with a stressful or negative situation, you can still find the positive and be able to move past that without too many negative effects. So I do encourage everybody to take a look through this. It goes in week by week in what we'll learn, but it is really exciting. And it's one of those, again, evidence-based programs that is shown to reduce anxiety, reduce depression, increase positive affect. In addition to that, we have Strong Bodies classes coming up. So I'm working with the health department on those. It's a strength training program for older adults. So it's a 12-week long program. We meet twice a week for now and just do a really great workout together. So building those social connections and also building that strength.
And where are you meeting holding these meetings?
Absolutely. So We Cope is going to be, we have, I think, 3 or 4 coming
Oh,
up.
the strong bodies.
Oh, Strong Bodies.
You said you're doing exercises. That's at the health department, you're doing those?
So the health department runs kind of they take care of all the volunteers in the area who are trained to run Strong Bodies. So they have classes that are at Marion Manor, the Oshkosh Housing Authority. That's where I'll be kind of taking over. They also have classes at 2 of the senior centers, Omro and Menasha, and I think Nina as well, so that makes 3. They have one at a Lutheran church in Omro, and I think a couple other places. I know they have 8 locations total. So they are here, there, and everywhere, and we're actually in the middle of reporting on how many people we've had participate this year, but I know we're well over 150 participants at this point. So I don't have an exact number, but working with them to get that in our system.
Any cost for that, or is that free?
It is completely free. There is a suggested donation, but we are required to just put that on there, but nobody has to pay anything if they do not feel inclined to participate. And you're welcome to join at any time too. So if you're not there the first week, you can still hop in at week 6, 7, 8, 11, whatever works for you. But that one, again, is coming up, and I will be again at the Marion Manor Oshkosh Housing Authority building. We Cope, I will say, is going to be at the Boys and Girls Club of Oshkosh for their parents group. We also have one coming up that'll be at Tiny House Village in Oshkosh. We're trying to get a couple scheduled, and we're working with the Omro Community Center once they move to their new location to get that set up there. as well as one at Nova Oshkosh that is trying to get through the holidays, but right over here on Jackson Street for the people in their Terra program. I also have a virtual WeCope program that I'm helping facilitate with one of my colleagues in another county. That's just an online one for whoever would like to come, but we are working through each of those week by week skills together. So it's really exciting because we do get to expand our reach a little bit and welcome people from all over the state. So very exciting there. Other than that, the big one that's coming up and the last one that I'll talk about today is PBS Spark. And that is a partnership between myself and PBS Fusion. But we have developed a 3-hour workshop, so 3 of them for women to promote self-love, confidence, resilience, kindness. It's really a self-love workshop. So we'll have one workshop on January 14th, and that's for adults. And then we'll have a workshop on February 11th, and that's for young adults. And then the third one will be on March 3rd, and that's for mothers and daughters to come together. And what we'll be doing is just learning all about self-care. How do we take care of our mental and physical health? We have PBS Fusion coming in and talking all about that physical health. We have Simply Yoga coming in, doing yoga with everybody and kind of building those skills in mindfulness. I'll be talking about kind of specifically self-care planning, protecting our mental health, kind of some of those WeCope stress strategies. And then we also have a registered dietitian coming in who's doing kind of like food cooking demonstrations, as well as a little bit of a nutrition education lesson. So we're trying to get more of a holistic workshop together and get a bunch of activities and just bring as many people as we can together to promote them. So yeah, that's kind of what's coming up. A lot of exciting stuff. Again, I'm very grateful for all of the opportunities and very excited. I'm actually starting to get into some programming. So does anybody have questions? Absolutely.
What is sleep hygiene best practices? What do they mean by that?
Absolutely. So that is a new training that they actually just rolled out to us last week. So I wanted to put it on here. So we are, as far as I know, if we're attending this training, we are learning all about how to promote good sleep for the adult population. And it's a train the trainer type of training. I hate to say training so many times, but we're learning all about, how do we create environments that promote sleep? How much sleep do we need? How does sleep affect our bodies and our processes and how everything's connected? So how we function, as well as, any of those techniques, mindfulness, relaxation, and therapies that people use to just anything sleep related, promote sleep. I don't have a lot of information on it yet. So once February rolls around and we'll go through the training, I can definitely come back and give you a fuller report. But again, I did want to put that on there because it is something that is coming up, but very, very recently. So I apologize. I don't have a lot of information for you yet.
That's okay. Good that you're going forward with this, so that's good.
Yeah, I'm hoping that once I go through the program, we'll be able to train a couple of other local community leaders so that they can bring this to their clients, and that'll kind of help build capacity throughout the county.
So we're not gonna be required to bring our pillows to your next?
I mean, if you would like, I'm not gonna say no.
You just moved here?
From Ohio, yeah, so I moved and I started the position in June, moved back in May, so.
I lived in Ohio for kindergarten. That's
Oh,
when I moved.
Katie went to Toledo.
yes, I lived in Toledo. I went to college around Akron and then moved to Sandusky for a while, which is right on the lake. And then I'm here, so lake to lake, which has been really lovely. And so far, again, the people have been so wonderful, everybody who I've met and, even community partners who I've done outreach with, have just been so welcoming, so excited to start these new partnerships. So very, very great.
We're lucky to have this, and if anybody needs any landscaping, I know she knows how to spread wood chips.
I need to get the better shovel that we had
Yeah,
there,
your
so.
friend you brought there, he came with a coal shovel, that's the guy that, you know, he wasn't afraid to get into that pile, we just had little shovels, Tom and I. But her friend came with a coal shovel, that's the guy that we wanted on our side.
Yep. That's for next time.
Yeah, we don't wanna hurt your back, you gotta work up to that, you start with the little one and work your way up.
That's what they make tractors for.
Yeah, if we could've got one from the park, if I'd have known we were friend of wood chips, I would've had one out there. Any other questions for Katie? Hearing none, then we'll move on to the Extension Administration Department report with Chris.
All right, a couple things for you. I'm gonna try to be as efficient as possible because being that it is the solstice, if we go too long, it'll be dark. So, as the shortest day of the year, but as Robin and I discussed this morning, that means tomorrow we will start adding daylight.
Alright.
So, so all of those fun things. So, I am no longer gonna knock on wood, because I have a staffing update. So Madison Potratz, her last day was December 14th. Madison she's not going very far. She has an awesome opportunity to be an Ag Institute communications specialist. And for some of you, and I know Steve, you were part of the interview team, weren't you, with Madison, or was it Karen? It was Karen. So one of the things that Madison, prior to coming and joining our team, Madison was a communication specialist at UWO. And so essentially this role gets to take that experience as a communication specialist within a university setting and her horticulture educator experience within the Institute and gets to meld them together. So it's one of those things that it is a really awesome opportunity and experience for Madison. And it's really a great benefit to Extension and the Ag Institute to have her as part of that. Now, I also said she isn't going far. While she primarily will work remote, she will have office space and plans to work 1 day a week within our office suite to come in and have some socialization, but then also to have some dedicated, just have a dedicated office space, as it's a best practice to have someplace else other than your, home office or wherever your normal, mix it up a little bit. So I already have the approval from the dean's leadership team to post the position. I'm not planning to make any major changes. I'm intentionally not gonna post it until mid-January. So when we get back from the break, just because now, basically anything that I would submit to HR wouldn't get processed until then anyway, with being so close to the holidays. But we've already got approval. Since it hasn't been that long, the process should be able to go because we have all the information that we need. The position was included in our departmental budget, so the funding is already there. So we have all the things in place. We just need to go through and post it. With the way that our process works, I anticipate an April start date. So couple of things with that. So Steve, you gave me some information. I will follow up on some community gardening information because the timing of the horticulture position, some of those questions need to be answered before someone's on board, especially this timing, because I think registrations are even going to go out in January or early February. So I'll touch base with Peng and see what the demand is about the community garden potential for some additional plots. The other thing is that our office is still, we're going to support, there's the Landscape Professionals Conference that'll be happening. We are the fiscal agent. We'll still maintain, this office is the fiscal agent. It's kind of a partnership consortium. We'll still be the fiscal agent for that because we do plan on whoever the next person will be involved in that. So that's going to continue on. We'll have connections, best that we, through that, and then reintroduce our new staff member when we have that individual hired. The other thing is that there's been some really cool things that have, some updates that have changed about our hort diagnostics. One of the things that occurred, so there's two things. One, we learned we learned from our COVID experience that there was a need to develop systems of communication because our offices were in very different states of whether or not we could, of how we work. And the other piece is that not all of the county extension offices have a horticulture educator in them, but we have residents throughout the state who have horticulture questions. So there's a platform that has been developed and it's been tweaked and it's in a pretty good format. So one of the things that we're working on with the horticulture program at the state level is to get a web page that like all 72 counties will have the same information. There is an ask a horticulture question site that individuals will click. They will complete the information. They will provide as much information that they can about their issue. They can upload images, so photos, and then they will go to a kind of a central repository. Well, one of the things that happens is that counties that have horticulture educators, if individuals check Winnebago County, those questions would get automatically directed without even going to Madison. Right now, they're going to go to a central pool for the time being until we hire the next individual. So the short answer of where I'm going is we have a plan and a tool in place so that our consumers, even if they call and talk to Amy or walk up and we visit with them at the front counter, we have a way that we can get those horticulture questions answered in the interim in an organized way. And Madison had been working with one or two Winnebago County volunteers who were also providing some of those assistance, and then we'll work on plugging them in whenever we can. So I know that that's one of the things. January and February and probably early March isn't going to be the work, isn't going to be terrible. But if for some reason we find the right individual and they're going to want to start a little later in April or something like that, then things start to pick up, and we want to make sure that we have a plan for answering those questions, and we do. That may not, it may not be as good as a live voice, or well, it could be a live voice, because if the problem is or the situation is a little unique, there will be someone, whether it be a volunteer or an educator in one of the other counties that are taking the questions, may return a call. Some of them, as I think maybe some of you have known in the past, some of those inquiries, they're kind of along we already have a fact sheet for those, and that's where hey, here's the thing, here's the fact sheet, here are some other resources that you might have related to, your concern. So some bittersweet news. Madison is incredibly excited about her opportunity, and she has some sadness too from leaving some of the things that she started, but she's going to a good spot, and we have everything in place to refill the position in early 2024. That's staffing news. Facility wise, just in the budget you approved, the county board approved for part of our budget, and with parks, we have the funding allocated for the room reservation upgrade or new software. Pretty much, at least from our end, is first half of 2024 is doing the behind the scenes work and getting things, our staff learning it and getting things plugged in. And then the second half will be opening it up. And I'm intentionally not giving any specific timelines, because I don't think we haven't been given the green light as far as when we're going to learn.
Robert and I are attending training in January.
Okay, so there is training in
That's already
January.
scheduled.
So that's the first date. Yeah, the last time we chatted, I don't think that was on the.
No, just last week we found out.
We're very confident that it's gonna be better for both internal and external users, and our team in managing this. Parks is confident that it's going to work better for their reservations. So And because it's part of it's an add-on from the agenda prep software that was already purchased, so this is the same vendor, so it's also cost effective because it's bundled. I mean, it's the same, so it's really just an add-on, not a whole additional tool from a different vendor. So that also helps, especially with support if we need to do some tweaks or other things like that. The other thing I just wanted to remind you, yesterday I spent a whole bunch of time with the University of Wisconsin team getting different review dates for our annual summary reviews. So we evaluate staff on a calendar year period, and we have a portal a platform that both staff enter information, I enter information, and it's their formal performance review, and we have conversations. So one of the things that I just wanted to remind anyone here, that if anybody does have feedback related to any of the team, but timeliness is any of the UW educators, to please either pull me aside, send me an email, and this can be positive, or if you have some constructive feedback or some suggestions relating to performance, please bring those to me so that I can share them and include those as part of the evaluation process. That's kind of maybe I don't want to assume that everybody knew that that's the process. Obviously, if it's an immediate thing, you're encouraged to touch base with the educators and say, hey, or you want to know more about. But if it is something that you wish to discuss, you're always welcome year round. But we're coming up on our evaluation periods throughout January and early February. So if you had some feedback, you can let me know. And again, this isn't like always negative. There can be positive feedback as
I
well.
think 4 of your staff were recognized at our county board meeting for doing an exceptional good job.
Yes,
So,
yeah.
I think as a county, it'll go on, like we'll recognize people.
Yes.
Once a year. So, it doesn't go unnoticed. I mean,
Yeah.
we don't not always there to pat somebody on the back, but, we like you always to know that you're doing a good job and, that you're a team player and we value your effort and what you do for the county.
Yes, thank you, Steve. I appreciate that. But I also just put it out there that anytime, let me know, and we can work on passing that along in whichever format works the best. So that's that. And Doug had mentioned earlier that the Joint Council of Employee Relations did approve the pay raises for the UW staff and approved the draft for the trades, for the trades negotiations, which is like the first step in all of the levels of approval for that set of contracts. So for those of you who have been, there was an agreement that was negotiated that was approved by the Board of Regents that included some pretty big compromises in monies coming, funds for building projects across the UW system. So there were some major building projects that were being held up, including probably the biggest one is the new engineering building on the UW-Madison campus. And that one was frustrating, or was there's a lot of private support and donors that have put money into that project, and there was the final amount of public money was what was approved to be able to go to that project to upgrade that. And for those that haven't been around, some of the engineering buildings on campus they've seen better days, and I know that they're also designed for the type of engineering that was around when they were built. And I think many of us know that engineering as a whole, there are many different facets and things that we didn't even know that happened. So that's pretty important for the Madison campus, but there were also some demolition and other building projects to some of the other campuses as well. It also included a cap and even on DEI staffing and a conversion of positions to, a different role or purpose, across campus or across the UW system. So all campuses. So it did come at a cost, from that standpoint. One of the things I just want to reiterate, and it comes, I'm echoing sentiments from our dean, Carl Martin, is that, including all belonging in and including all or making extension programs available to all residents of the county is very important. It's our core mission. And so we are going to continue to do that and make that that is a priority, and that is that's what we do. It's what we have done for decades, and it's what we're going to continue to do. We're just going to move forward and with what resources we have because it's the right thing. So that just we're just kind of the piece, and we'll see how all the other things work out. But yes, the UW staff did receive January 11th. We will see some increase, our pay increases on our paychecks. So.
I just heard on the radio that it's a 4% increase, and then 2 months later, an additional 2% increase. So that was on the way down that I heard that.
Yes. So it wasn't supposed to be like 2 months later. It was January or July 2nd of 2023 was when the 4% increase was supposed to go into effect.
Yeah, exactly.
And then the additional 2% was to be on July 2nd of 2024. So yeah,
it's nice that you're getting that back pay.
Yes, and yes, there will be some back pay, and then the adjustments. And I know that there were some questions from just in general, and there was an FAQ that was provided about how is it going to impact both retirement contributions and all of those, and all of that seems to be sorted out. So
that can get confusing. I understand.
Yeah, it can be. It can be. I think I'm looking at it of at least from my own personal situation. I'm just happy that there was resolution. I have some of my own personal thoughts about the situation, but at least that's where we're at today, and we'll see what tomorrow or next month or whatever that brings us, because it could change. It probably will change. So
Yes,
we'll do what we got. So thanks for your inquiries and your questions and your support and just with that for the that line of thinking. So I'm happy to answer any questions.
Yeah, one more question. That is,
Yes.
I was at the Spirit/ARPA meeting last week, and one of the presenters was talking about data collection throughout 3 counties. That's Calumet, Allegheny, and Winnebago. And I was speaking with the health department,
Mhm.
and I know that they are really big on data collection. Is how UW system does all of your data collection, correct? Or is there a way that if the county ended up working with these other 2 counties, that you would be able to utilize some of that data collection?
So okay, I'm going to answer there's 2 separate parts, and I'll answer them. So the Division of Extension through UW-Madison we have a I call it the reportal. It is it's a planning and recording portal in which all of the educators not only enter impacts, so things like Katie will, if she hasn't already, but in sometime within the next month, will enter like that she did a We Cope presentation with, or she presented We Cope with the audience and things like that. She will also record participant data. That's a separate piece, because one of the things that we want to make sure we do, especially with demographics, is we do not want to tie specific individuals to specific programs, because we don't have the institutional review board and all of those pieces to show how, the data is used, but we have that. We have what information from Katie and Sarah's after-school programs, and the 4-H numbers get plugged in, and Todd reports all of that. So as far as program participants, we have that information so that we can communicate that. So then the next piece is that in our conversations, and I'm gonna use Katie because she's right here, and she said, I'm thinking strong bodies. Strong bodies is a partnership with Extension and the health department. So then both of our organizations, through partnership and communication, we leverage each other's resources and can, like, for example, and I know because Katie and I have chatted about this, Katie's been part of a group as far as the county health improvement plan, and like listening to and being part of that and using the data sets that are there. And she can both bring her insights, but then also use that information to help inform her programming. Is that fair?
I think so.
All right. So those pieces are there, and that occurs. So there is give and take that we have, and it's through our partnerships and relationships, and so that is already existing, and it can always keep going into or improving or morphing depending on what the needs are.
Does the next step would be how many people are participating and where are they from? Is that information gathered?
No. So and here's why. So it to some extent it is. So, or at least for those programs that we have registration as part of it. We also have some programs and events that we have drop-ins. And the only reason is because tying part of our civil rights compliance is we have to watch, we don't want to tie pieces together to make individuals too identifiable for their privacy. We have a right to do that. So, or we have a responsibility to do that. And so what I'm saying is, so if we have a program we can make some extrapolations. For example, some of Sarah's programs, if they're school-based, okay, we can make some pretty good interpretations of what the geographic area of those students are, because of the school that they attend. If we have a registration and individuals include, and in many cases we ask for a mailing address, we have that information through that. We don't enter that specific information. We don't have like, oh, John Smith participated in this program and he has a full registration and things like that. It's because the data that we enter into the portal is also used for other purposes, and we need to keep some things separate. But yes, we can.
Well, and the reason I say that is that if you find that, you're coming in like everything's Oshkosh, and you're not reaching Amarillo or Menasha, how would you know that if you didn't know who was attending the programs?
Okay, here, I hear you, and some of that is just baked into our process of when we start evaluating new initiatives or reviewing existing.
Yeah,
So,
you don't have to have the numbers.
Yeah.
You have a process.
Yes, we have the, yes.
Find out if you
yes.
have an area that's not being
Right.
addressed.
And that's baked into a lot of our processes, as well as we've made some significant strides in the last 3 years of getting training and support to building in the pieces to ensure, for example, that we communicate to participants about the opportunities for language support. So there are individuals, of the correct, either one, translating into Spanish, Hmong, or other languages, or having information available so that they could connect to with. Usually it's actually somebody in one of our resource offices in Madison to say, hey, I would I would like to participate in this, but I would like to request an interpreter or interpretation. And I guess, American Sign Language would be the other one that's probably more common as far as having an interpreter. And then we would work to make those. So we're make those adjustments. We're doing much better on building that in. So it's part of our process on the front end. So it's not like, oh, nuts, somebody wants a Spanish translation. What do I do? We think about it on the front end.
I would think that sometime in the future, that information that I'm talking about is gonna become helpful when you're identifying programs and what you need to cut. Because you can't afford to have everything all the time. And then
Yeah.
you can say, well, this program, didn't reach out or something like that. But then there's other ones where you might have to increase because you're seeing such a demand for that.
Yeah.
That's not saying that the rising and setting of the sun it changes.
Yeah.
Everything changes.
Yep, and I think I think that part is built into our program evaluation process that we work with our educators, and as they're doing, reflection, whether it's a partner program or whether it's an individual, like one of an independent, like one of our own, is part of that. Okay, there's that's built into that post program or that evaluation review of, all right, so usually first year is excluded because sometimes the first year you gotta just get it going and see, but then like, okay, are we getting that return that we need? And then should we look at using those resources, time or space or financial, in a different way?
And to continue, of course, what the potential is for data collection is Big Brother's watching me. And it's always good to know that is not part and parcel of what is happening. It's there. But what they were doing was talking about the simplification of extracting some of that information. If you were in a school district in Winnebago County and you have to go to the various school districts to get the information, this would be an area where all of that information would be gathered and you wouldn't have to go to each of the school districts and then off to the DPI and then off to the next
Sure.
extrapolation of that. And it just seemed to me like that would be a very great way of simplifying.
Mhm.
How do I get that information?
Yeah.
How do I,
Now that
or
makes,
how does the community
yep, and
get
that
that information?
and that makes sense, and that would be something, I mean, if that repository were available, we would probably, from an extension perspective, would probably utilize that.
Okay.
I don't know, I can't guarantee, because it's above my pay grade of what, if anything, we would be able to contribute. You know what I mean, as far as data to put in, because that's not my area, but that is, especially when we're looking at our programming and our civil rights related, and comparing our programs to, population data or, demographic or trends.
Yeah.
That would be something that, I mean, because we're doing that. We're going and looking at this source and this source and this source and this source and this source. And, we're looking at census data and then we're doing our own. And I look at Sarah because she's been around the table a couple times when we've done this and most recently. And then we do our own interpretation of
Sure.
what does it mean
Sure.
based on our own experience.
And the sense that I got from this, and it did not pass that commission because it was not actually me touching physically the community, but it seemed to be a really advantageous way of in a backing off manner,
Okay.
being able to get that information and then going about and touching the people that need to be touched.
Yeah. Okay.
And I found it to be just really interesting. Thank you for letting me go off on a
Well, that's
tangent.
right. I think the Spirit Fund, that's one-time money, and if they would have funded that, there's ongoing costs. You know, data is only as good as how up to date
Yeah.
it is. You know, so you take data from 2 years ago, it really is pretty much, you can get a trend, but you can't get current. So it's like we could fund that and it would be current data, but then they're gonna have to probably charge down the line because our funding will be gone.
Right.
And how do they continue to get current data without having employees that have to be paid? So then either it's going to charge for their data that we basically gave them the money to start up, or they're gonna basically go out of business because they have no money to fund their data because nobody pays. So it's kind of like the Spirit Fund money is for something that's gonna be a legacy project that we know is gonna be around for at least 20 years. So we hate to fund something that is speculation that it might work out. But if there isn't enough subscribers down the road, all you're gonna have is data that's 2 years old and it won't be free. So, you know, I can see why that it didn't pass the Spirit Fund.
What I see as a change in the board, the Winnebago County Board, and I think the term accountability is starting to come in now. We just had a presentation at the last meeting from Habitat for Humanity. There were 2 other ones, there were $10 million that the board gave them. But historically, it seems like we haven't had a lot of follow-up after we give them the money. Did you spend the money and did you spend the money what you were supposed to? And I see that changing. I don't know exactly what it's gonna be like, but if you're in a position where you have, it sounds like you are, you have your numbers, you know what you're doing, and you know how many people are attending and where they're from, that's, you got all the justification you need.
Yeah.
And to have the educators all on the same page there so they can give a presentation at a drop of a hat of where they're at and how they're going, because there's gonna be trending. It's gonna go up and down, and then you make your adjustments, because like I said, eventually the funding is gonna become an issue.
Yeah.
And there's only one way, raise taxes or reduce services. I don't know of any other one, do we? Is there another one out there? I don't know. So anyhow, that's just an observation.
Yeah, we're prepared for that and I mean, as Extension as a whole, we've always been at the win. Well, and we're also at the wins of funding, right? Because we have state funding and then we have county funding and in some cases we have there's other partnerships. So we're always justifying what we do because we need support to do it. So.
Thank you.
Yep.
Thank you.
Any other questions for Chris? Hearing none, we'll move on to UW-Madison Division of Extension and Education Steering Committee update.
Apparently, we're still waiting for the 2 masters to go about discussing what the next step is.
Okay.
We've been there.
I've
before,
not
haven't we?
heard anything. And that's been the case for what, the last 3, since about, well, for the last 3-4 months. That's been the situation. So I can't have any updates on it for you.
Well, we all know government moves very slow. I can expect one coming soon. Then we'll go on to announcing upcoming extension events at the county board meeting. Anything that you'd like us to maybe mention or?
I'm trying to think, I read the newsletter. That's where my go-to is. I don't have anything in mind. I don't know if Sarah or Amy or Katie, if you do.
I mean, if there's anything on this lovely page that jumps out at you, please feel free, but.
The grandparent event.
There is actually a holiday grandparent event scheduled for next week, Thursday, on the 28th. They're gonna actually go bowling.
Well, our next meeting will be a special orders meeting on the 2nd of January. So we have anything going on?
Okay.
January 2nd, we got a special.
Yeah, I think so.
It's the 2nd of January.
I'm telling you
Because
now.
it's a special order.
I will, how about this? We have a staff meeting today, so I will let the team or remind the team and we will send a note. We will send a note if there's something.
And tell me again, what is the grandparents are doing next Thursday?
Next Thursday, they are going bowling. They're going to Rebs in Oshkosh.
Oh, okay.
And they're going to do pizza, soda, and bowling all
The
included for the
grandparents with
families.
little crayons.
Yep, and the kids. So they're not doing childcare this month yet. But they were just gonna enjoy the holidays, have fun. Sandy has some things planned for them for like holiday gifts, sort of things to send home
Okay.
with them. But then starting in the new year, they're gonna start offering some childcare. We have 2 people on board already that are returning from before to help out with childcare and still recruiting for more.
That's such a neat program. I worked with them several years ago and I ran into one of the former grands at Target the other day and she recognized me and she was just like so
Oh.
excited and she's doing well.
Good.
These people are the ones that are now
Yeah.
like this big and
And next we got committee comments. Any comments?
None for me.
Hearing none, then we go on to, scheduling of the next meeting, be January 18th of 2024. And then I'm gonna turn on motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
We're adjourned.